Let's bring our minds back to our body. Become aware of our breathing. Follow our breath. Relax the body. Gradually coming into the present moment and into this space as we listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Good morning, dear respected Thai, our teacher, dear beloved community. My name is Sister Tri Nghiem, and today is the 3rd of August in the year 2025. And we are in the Rising Tide Meditation Hall at Magnolia Grove Monastery. I wrote that out this time because last time I forgot to say it. And I'd also like to share with you another note. So love shows itself in many different ways. And I felt the love from Uncle Ben and Brother Phap Jung, who without being asked just came and offered us some songs before the talk so that we can start to relax and I can start to relax. And then one of my younger sisters just brought me this note and this little picture of a cat and a plant. And it says, "Good luck, Sister Tri Nghiem." So these are small actions that have a big impact. And I'm very grateful. So the topic of today's Dharma talk is words can kill and words can heal. Our words can kill or our words can heal. Because words and the way we speak are also actions. So our actions can carry love and understanding, and our actions can carry violence, hatred, discrimination. And the same is true for our words, the way we speak. But before I get into that topic, I'd just like to remind all of us that every time we listen to a Dharma talk, or everything we read or watch or listen to about the Buddha's teachings, we need to ask ourselves, how do I apply this teaching to my own life? What has this got to do with me? How can I put this into practice? So in the Plum Village tradition, we don't just study Buddhism to gain knowledge or to accumulate knowledge. We're not trying to become scholars. In fact, the quest for knowledge can often be an obstacle to us on our path towards more liberation, peace, and happiness. So knowledge can be helpful, but it's not enough. We need to apply the practice. There's a big difference between knowing and doing. And there's also a big difference between doing and being. And here, in our practice of mindfulness, our goal is to learn how to be in the world, how to be a calm and peaceful presence, how to be a source of wisdom, compassion, love, and joy, without creating suffering for ourselves or for others or for the planet. The way we think is key. The way we look at things is crucial to our practice on our path towards more peace and happiness. The way we think about ourselves, the way we think about our parents, the way we think about our siblings, about our children, about our boss, our co-workers, our friends. All of this determines how we speak to them, how we behave towards them. So we need to be aware of what beliefs we're holding, what beliefs we may have internalized, or what stories we've been telling ourselves, sometimes our whole lives long, and that need to be revised, need to be examined. So please allow me to stand up. I'd like to put something on the board about the Noble Eightfold Path. So the Buddha spoke about the Four Noble Truths, and you may be familiar with that there is suffering in the world and in us and in our lives. And there's a path that leads to this suffering. But the good news is happiness is possible. Life is not all suffering. Happiness is also possible, and there's a path that leads to happiness. And that path is called the Noble Eightfold Path. And when we say happiness is possible, of course, we also mean peace, freedom, calm, open-mindedness, contentment. So happiness is just standing in for all the things that we're actually seeking. And there is a path that leads to what we're looking for, and that is the Noble Eightfold Path. So the Noble Eightfold Path, as its name suggests, has 8 different components. accepting impermanence of shapes and imperfection of shapes. The first one we like to say is right view. And the second one, right thinking or right thoughts. Then right speech. And right action. Today we're going to be focusing on right speech, how our words affect our well-being and the well-being of others. I'll just fill in the rest so you know. So this would be right livelihood, right diligence or right effort, then right mindfulness, right concentration. And they are obviously all interconnected. So right mindfulness is not separate from right thinking or right speech. Diligence is not separated from all the others either, and the same for right view. So it's not a one-way street. It's not a one-way direction. They are all interconnected. So why do we put right view at the top? Our teacher, Thai, and not only our teacher, but the Buddha and many sages over the centuries are aware of the importance of the way we think in determining, what we believe in determining what we think, which impacts the way we speak and also what we do. So I have a short passage from the Dhammapada, a very early text, collection of verses. And I'd like to read it out. So, mind is the forerunner of all actions. So if we think of thoughts, speech, and physical actions, that's what we mean by action. So triple action of thought, speech, and action. And mind is the forerunner. Mind goes first. All deeds are led by mind and created by mind. If one speaks or acts with a corrupt mind, suffering follows. Just as surely as the wheel follows the hoof of an ox pulling a cart. So today, I don't know, we'd say the caravan follows the car, or the trailer follows the car. In those days, it was oxen pulling carts. So I'd like to repeat it. Mind is the forerunner of all actions. All deeds are led by mind and created by mind. If we speak with a corrupt, with a deluded, with an unwholesome, with a negative mind, then suffering will follow, just as the wheel follows the hoof of the ox when pulling a cart. But the opposite is also true. Mind is the forerunner of all actions. All deeds are led by mind, created by mind. If one speaks or acts with a serene mind, happiness follows as surely as one's shadow. So that's the good news. Do we want to create more suffering, or do we want to create more happiness? I mean, that's a rhetorical question. So if we want to create more happiness, we're going to have to look into our views and how we are thinking about things, about ourselves, about others, about the world, about any situation, and then what we say. Because our words are so powerful. They are so powerful that they can bring about destruction and killing. They are also so powerful that they can bring about healing and transformation. So I've been struck lately by developments in the world, political developments, developments in technology, and I've noticed there's a lot of talk about fake news, conspiracy theories, AI generated. So can we trust what we're seeing and what we're hearing or what we're reading? Can we trust it? Is it reliable? Is it truthful? I have to say that sometimes I'm not sure. There are a lot of contradictory statements. One side says one thing and the other side says the exact opposite. So the importance of truthfulness is absolutely critical. And I think we've all experienced that growing up, that was the one of the big things that our parents tried to instill in us is the sense of telling the truth. Telling the truth and not lying, not covering up, not evading questions. So telling the truth is critical for good relationships. We need to rely on the other person's honesty to know that we can trust that what they say is true, at least in their own belief. Today, we see a lot of misinformation, a lot of exaggeration, a lot of outright lies or falsehoods. And we see this coming from people in very responsible positions. For example, heads of state, political parties, political representatives, certain media that we used to trust. So the way the news is reported can distort reality, can rewrite history, can deny some terrible things that happened in the past. In fact, when we don't speak with right speech, everything can be turned around. Right can become left, up becomes down. And this creates a lot of confusion. Apart from promoting fear and hatred and division, divisiveness, discrimination, violence, aside from all of that, it creates confusion within us. The meaning of the words doesn't seem to match our understanding of the situation. So innocent civilians can become terrorists. Innocent civilians can become dangerous criminals. The art of gaslighting, propaganda, indoctrination is rampant. And it's not new. It's not new. I mean, this is part of human nature. It's been going on forever. But it seems to be new to us, possibly, who grow up in a generation, at least in the West, without war, without war in our own country, without a authoritarian regime in our own country. So our moral values and our ethics, our perceptions of reality itself are really challenged if people are not using right speech. And how do we make sense of all of that? How do we know what is true and what is fabrication? So qualities like truthfulness and honesty, refraining from lying, not insulting or belittling others, not speaking badly of others, they are actually at the foundation of all cultures and all religions, and also of our practicing community. So in some religions, lying is considered a sin. Not in Buddhism. We don't have the notion of sin, but lying is discouraged. We're encouraged not to lie, to practice telling the truth, because we're aware that all of our actions have consequences. So negative speech will have a negative consequence. And when we study the Vinaya and the Buddhist discourses, we'll see that the Buddha had a lot to say about the way we speak. And many of our monastic precepts center on how we speak. And for our lay practitioners, we have the 5 mindfulness trainings and the 14 mindfulness trainings of the Order of Interbeing. And there too, there is a big emphasis on how we speak. How do we speak so that we instill confidence in the other, hope, joy? How do we speak so we can understand others and they can understand us? How do we speak so that we don't create more suffering? So I'd like to highlight a few points in the 5 mindfulness trainings, and you will get to read those in their entirety after this Dharma talk. We'll have a recitation of the 5 mindfulness trainings. But I just want to pick out a few elements that are worth noting. So we strive to cultivate what we call in Plum Village loving speech. Loving speech and compassionate listening. And when we say loving speech, that means our speech contains elements of understanding, compassion, acceptance, and love. So if they don't contain those elements, it's not loving speech, it's something else. We are aware that words can create happiness or suffering. They can either lead to violence or lead to peace. We are determined to speak truthfully, telling the truth, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. When we're angry, we do our best not to speak, because when we're angry, there is the energy of fire, the energy of violence, of destruction in our words and in our physical energy. So aware of that, we try not to say anything or do anything when we're angry. We're also aware that the roots of our anger don't lie in the other person. The roots of our anger are to be found in our wrong perceptions and our lack of understanding of the suffering within me and also within the other person. So there's a lot. We don't spread rumors. We try not to gossip. We don't repeat things that we're not sure about. We try to resolve all conflicts, no matter how small. We don't exaggerate or boast for the sake of impressing people. We don't speak about the faults of others in their absence. So we don't talk behind somebody's back. A doesn't say to B how terrible C is. To gang up and to all agree, we try not to do that. We try to ask ourselves if our perceptions are correct. So developing the skill of loving speech and its corollary, its like mate, deep listening, are not just things we read about. They are actually things we can train, we can practice. We can reflect on the way we habitually speak to others, especially those that we are close to, our family, our parents, our partner, our children, our siblings, our colleagues, our roommates. Daily reflection about how we managed in the day. How successful was I today? And if I wasn't that successful, if I see, oh, that speech was unskillful, that speech could have been hurtful, then I take responsibility for it and I do my best not to repeat. However, good intentions alone are not enough. I have very good intentions about not wanting to hurt people, and yet it still happens. It still happens, and it seems we can't avoid it. It's almost impossible to make sure that we never hurt somebody else. So focusing on the way we are looking, let's say, at our partner or our family members, the way we perceive them, how we think about them. Maybe we're holding a grudge, maybe we feel resentment, maybe we're carrying hurt from childhood, and that colors the way we see them. It colors the way we think about them. It colors the way we speak about them and to them. And of course, it colors how we behave. So the question that we can reflect on is, how did your parents speak to you when you were little, when you were growing up? Was it loving? Was it hurtful? Was there understanding, compassion, love in their words? Or was there impatience, frustration, anger, irritation? Just reflect for a moment on your own situation. What kind of an environment did you grow up in? Was there a lot of loving speech or not so loving speech? What happened when the kids argued? How did your parents intervene? Did you get punished? Or were you helped to understand the situation? So if your parents or whoever you grew up with were not able to master the art of loving speech and deep listening, it may be that you will quickly react with defensiveness, with fear. Fear of being hurt, fear of being rejected, anger, sense of injustice. Maybe you want to hit back. So if we look at children when they're playing, if one grabs the other's toy, then the other one might hit them. So it's very natural to want to hit back when we feel injustice or hurt. And this is an obstacle to us being able to use loving speech. So it's really essential that we get in touch with the hurt within us. What hurts are we carrying? What wounds? How can I cultivate non-fear? How can I cultivate openness, acceptance, understanding? Because these are essential if we want our relationships with others to be good, to be smooth, to be rewarding. We have a sound of the bell. Thank you. So in my childhood growing up, there wasn't a lot of loving speech. That notion was unknown to my family. And also the awareness that speech can deeply wound and last a lifetime, that awareness was also absent. And that doesn't mean we blame our parents. They didn't have the good fortune that we have to learn about this. They didn't have a practice that helped them. So we don't blame them, we can understand. But we're also aware that something that somebody said when we were only 4 years old is still alive within us. I feel a little embarrassed to recount, but I will open myself up to share that when I was in preschool kindergarten, so I was under 5, everyone was outside, all the kids were outside trying to learn how to do backward somersaults. And everyone else was learning very quickly and I couldn't do it. So I think I must have complained. I must have whinged something like, I can't do it. And the teacher, she said to me with anger in her voice, or maybe some disgust, of course you can't do it because you're too fat. And that was the first time I had an awareness of being fat or not fat. And I went home and I showed everybody my fat tummy. And I said, look, it's fat. And that teacher has no idea how much that single sentence impacted me my entire life. So since that moment, I am convinced I am fat. And not just fat, but therefore undesirable, unlovable, everything that's associated with that. So small things we say, one moment that we're not paying attention can create a lifelong wound and does the opposite of instilling confidence, the opposite of creating joy, hope, happiness. So how much more important is it when we lie or when others lie, when they exaggerate or when they embellish? So sometimes politicians we listen to engage in a lot of exaggeration, a lot of embellishment, or a lot of, I don't want to say lying, but I think we all know that certain leaders or certain people that are entrusted with looking after us, looking after the people, looking after society, unfortunately don't always use loving speech. So let's just reflect for a moment. can you think about if you have ever exaggerated telling a story, and why did you do that? You might want to close your eyes just a short moment to reflect on a time you lied or exaggerated when telling a story, and why did I do it? It can be something recent or further back in the past. And open your eyes when you've found something. Okay, so I'd like to invite you to turn to the person behind you or beside you and share what was that incident when you recognized that you lied or you exaggerated or embellished a story. So we'll have 2 minutes per person. So person A and person B, and after 2 minutes I'll invite the bell, and then you switch. So person A just listens, person B speaks. After 2 minutes, person B will listen and person A will speak. Please arrange yourself so you're in pairs. Uncle Duck, there's somebody behind who needs a partner? Okay. So please change roles, speaker and listener. Thank you. So now the other person speaks. So thank you. You may have had more that you could have shared, but that you'll have another chance. Did everybody find something, a moment in your life where you lied or embellished? Shake your head if you found something. Oh, only 3 people. The others have never lied. Okay. So second chance. I'd like to invite you to bring to mind a moment in your past, recent or distant past, where something that somebody said to you really hurt you deeply, wounded you deeply. So just close your eyes for a moment to reflect. A moment when somebody said something that really deeply wounded me. And open your eyes when you've found something. Okay, so like before, but this time 1 minute each. 1 minute to share what happened and how were you hurt. And then at the next sound of the bell, you will swap roles. Thank you. Thank you. Now person B, share, and person A, listen. You both finished? Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. I can see there's a lot more you could say. And I'm wondering if anyone can share, what are your feelings about that person who hurt you? Can you name any of those feelings? Rejection. Okay, so you felt rejected. Not seen. Dismissed. Not appreciated. And how did you feel towards the person? Angry. Sorry? Resentful, yes. Feel resentful and angry towards that person who made us feel so dismissed and unseen, unheard, not valued. Okay, and do you still carry that anger and resentment? Yeah, I can see a number of you nodding. Right. Final exercise, I'd like you to close your eyes and bring to mind a moment in your past where you know you said something mean or unskillful, unloving or hurtful to someone. So when you were the one that was unskillful and said something hurtful that you know hurt the other person, close your eyes and try to think of a moment. And open your eyes when you've found your moment. Okay, so please, same procedure, share with your partner. What did you do? Do you know how it made the other person feel? And how do you feel about that now? Thank you. 1 minute each. Okay, the other person gets to share now, gets to speak. Thank you. So bow to your partner and say thank you. Thank you for being such a good listener. Thank you for sharing vulnerable things. So how do you feel about that now? When you look back on the time when you know you said something very hurtful that deeply hurt somebody possibly close to you or that you love, how do you feel now about that? Sadness? Shame? Understanding. Regret, yeah, big one. So feeling sad and regretful or remorseful, maybe feeling ashamed, but possibly also understanding. So what are we understanding? Hopefully we can understand that the reason why we said something hurtful was because we ourselves were suffering. So when we are suffering, what comes out is suffering, and we cause suffering. And if you haven't done it yet, please look deeply into what you were suffering from. So we don't blame ourselves, we don't beat ourselves up, we don't need to, drown in remorse. We need to understand all the causes and conditions that led us to say those things. And that is our practice. It's not just like, I hope I never say something bad ever again. It's a practice of seeing and recognizing the causes and conditions that lead me to say hurtful things or create violence, division, divisiveness, separation. So we need to look into the causes and conditions and understand why we said those things. Why did we react like that? Often it's because we ourselves feel hurt and it's a kind of retaliation. It may be that we don't feel loved enough or understood enough. It may be that we want to feel better about ourselves. Maybe we have some low self-esteem or not self-loathing, no self-acceptance or not enough. And that can also produce hurtful speech. So I'd like to give you some homework to take away when you leave today. And that is to bring to mind all the instances, as many as you can, where you know you used loving speech, where you know you inspired joy and confidence in someone, where you showed them concrete support with your words, where you expressed your love with your words, and to look at how you feel when you bring that to mind. And to ask yourself, what prevents me from doing this more often? What are my particular obstacles to using loving speech more often? So our practice of mindfulness is a practice of stopping and looking deeply. We practice loving speech and deep listening the same way that an athlete trains. We start small and build on it. We don't let ourselves be discouraged, like, oh, I'll never be able to do that. I have such strong habit energy. I have so much anger. My words are so sharp. I can never do that. So that's self-defeating. All of us can learn, can train in small moments and then in bigger moments, to use loving speech in order to make others feel better. And we will discover that when others feel better, we feel better. So thank you very much for listening today, and we will finish with 3 sounds of the bell.